Hey, hello everyone. My name is Joe, and welcome to Fendy Daily. And today we have our guest, Mr. Bob Lowe. All right. So for those of you guys who do not know, Fendy Daily is about digital marketing, whereby people who are still new to digital marketing wants to know how to navigate in terms of the world of digital marketing and which platform is suitable for them and how they can leverage this digital marketing platform to optimize their business. All right. So Bob Lowe, I've known him for quite some time. I started to know him from the Next Academy. And from there also I met him several working sessions. Bob Lowe is actually an expert in LinkedIn platform. He has helped several businesses in terms, especially for B2B, lead generation, content, and advertising. He's a both speaker and he's also a trainer. He have helped several companies such as Samsung Mobile, Disney, Marvel Studio, to name a few. And also he have trained people from different companies such as Coca-Cola, Maxis, Carlsberg, Ernst & Young, and Accenture. Okay, is there anything like, Mr. Bob, you can introduce yourself more that I have missed out?
Yeah, I help companies with LinkedIn marketing, and that's what I do now. And I help them with lead generation, with doing events, and also creating content on LinkedIn. Basically, helping them to get their dream clients on LinkedIn.
Okay, so maybe the first question to start is like, why should we use LinkedIn, and maybe who should actually definitely start LinkedIn? Who should really use LinkedIn now if they haven't used yet?
Yes, that is a good question, Joe. So LinkedIn is not for everyone, I would say, first and foremost. So if you start using LinkedIn, and this is what I will ask if you want to use LinkedIn, is what positions, industry, and geography you're going for. So LinkedIn is the platform with occupational data. That means, let's say, if you want to go for all the CFOs in Malaysia to sell them accounting software, that is the place to be. Or if you want to sell recruitment services, or if you want to sell B2B software, B2B services, your service provider. So that is the place to be. So you need to know what is your position, geography, and industry. So having said that, if you are selling flowers, if you are looking to sell something to restaurants, I always use this example. If you want me to sell coffee machines on LinkedIn, that is not possible. Restaurant owners are not on LinkedIn. It is a very white collar platform. Very white collar. That means consultants. That means all the industries that I just mentioned just now, tech and many other industries. So it is not for retail. It is not for F&B. So if you are offering a service that is in these industries and you have their occupational data and that occupation is active on LinkedIn, then that is the place you can start.
So I guess it's more towards B2B, right, than B2C.
It is B2C as well, B2B, but it is more to very white collar. So if you have a B2C product and you are looking to sell to, let's say I have a financial planning client who sells insurance to medical professionals. Yes, then that is the platform. It is not for, that the industries I mentioned, restaurants and things like that. No.
Understood. And how about networking? Is that one of the good way also? How do you suggest as a business owner, I want to reach out to my potential customers? Is networking a good way to just connect with people, or is it too like they say it could be too spammy by connecting to people that you don't know?
Sorry, Joe, what do you mean by networking?
Meaning that you use, okay, assuming that I'm trying to sell my service to potential sales managers on my marketing service, right? So I just search on the sales managers around my area and I just connect to them. Is that some advice that you would give to connect to relevant customers?
Yes, it does work on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn is one of the few platforms that you can do this because you have occupational data, like you said, sales managers. That is,
Mm.
and it is a numbers game.
Mm-hmm.
So if you create content and you put yourself out there, you can get leads. And this one also you can. And this is something, the caveat is do not spam too much, but offer something of value. For example, you can say, hey, I offer you an audit, or I offer you an ebook or something. But yes, you can reach out to a very specific target audience on LinkedIn.
Okay. Okay. All right. That's a good one.
But the word networking, that is where that is where there is a huge, you open up a huge can of worms, which maybe I would like to explain.
Okay. Sure.
So
Sure.
maybe the premise of the question is not that. So you can do cold outreach on LinkedIn. I call that cold outreach, which
All
is,
right.
let's say you reach out to the CFOs, whatever. You
Mhm.
can do that manually, or you can use advertising, or you can use email on
Mhm.
LinkedIn. You can use email to reach
Yeah.
these people, which is allowed by LinkedIn. They give you a very specific number of emails. And when you say networking, then that is a whole new level.
So
That is
yeah, it's a
another
different
level.
stuff. Yeah.
I'll tell you a story about this. So one of my long-term clients, and how
Mhm.
this is how they became a client of mine, is one of the marketing directors, newly appointed marketing directors, reached out to me on LinkedIn and say, hey, I'm having this new role in marketing. What advice would you have? And then I hop on the call and I just gave advice. And then when the time came, I actually worked with a team multiple times, and we have been working together for years. But it started from just networking, that I would call networking on LinkedIn. And if you know, so let me plug my podcast as well. So I have the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon podcast,
Yeah.
where I interview business leaders in Asia. So most of my guests from the podcast comes through LinkedIn. I asked them if they want to be interviewed on a podcast through LinkedIn. And if you talk about networking, so do check out, there's one episode that is coming out next week, and possibly when this podcast out, it will become, is how to build meaningful connections on LinkedIn. So that's when you say the word networking, it's a very big word. So let me explain. So
Okay.
number one, if I were to network, I want to network on LinkedIn. Number one,
Uh-huh.
identify. Let's say you said sales managers, right?
Yes.
Identify the sales managers that are active on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
So they are posting content, they are attending events. So find those who are active, and then what you can do is you can actually comment on their posts, right? So give them engagement. So if that is a great way to network. And how do you do that is you can go to my profile, you can go to anyone's profile. One, after you follow that profile, there will be a bell icon on the top right.
Mhm.
Turn on that bell notification icon. So when they post a piece of content, you'll get notified on your LinkedIn application, and then you can be the first to comment. Secondly is, of course, to bring that connection of LinkedIn. So let's say if you're not sure how you can network or what to say, you can say, hey, would you like to have a quick chat to see how we can collaborate? Right. So then you can get them somewhere to offline, whether it's coffee, whether it is to Zoom meeting, to see how you can collaborate. So that is more towards networking. Of course, then you can also invite them to a podcast. So the idea is to bring them that experience off LinkedIn to
Awesome.
somewhere else to network. So having said that, I've had great networking experiences on LinkedIn. I just came back from Singapore in February,
Mhm.
and a number of people bought me coffee from Singapore, and we met on LinkedIn.
Wow.
And when I went to Australia a number of years ago, there were a number of people also meeting me for coffee and buying me for lunch and coffee that I met on LinkedIn. So it is that, if you said networking, I would say that is the extent that I would
That
go
is the
to.
true networking. Just go to
Yeah.
people's
So that is
profile,
networking.
engage with
Since you
them.
said the word, yeah, say
Okay.
the N word. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, okay. So but then talking about networking also, right? Normally people want you to give them some value, right? Because of networking. Then there needs to be a reason why you need to bring them out.
Yes.
So
Yes.
how do we work on that? How do we I guess, can I use the word personal branding? How do we build a good personal branding on LinkedIn?
Mm, Personal branding, a few things. So I've been on LinkedIn. So a bit of background for the audience. I've been on LinkedIn creating content for 5 years already. So I was one of the first few who created video on LinkedIn back in 2018. And personal branding, so you need to know what is personal branding. Is basically associating someone with a preconception. For example, I know Joe, and Joe is the Facebook ads guy.
Yeah.
Right. So it is number one, before you start doing anything, you need to know you are the Facebook ads guy. Or for me, like what do you do? Are you the networking guy? Are you the fish guy? Are you the leaders? Or find what you are good at and find that sweet spot. Right. Secondly, is to create content, right?
Yeah.
So is to create content and be out there and put things out there. So how can you amplify that, right? So you can create content on a regular basis, and the key is consistency. I hate saying that, but the key is consistency. So if you want people to associate you with something, they need to see it more than once for it to have that association. It's very simple. So the more you create, the more that you will get. And if you do that for over the years, then it will be stuck in their mind. Like when you met me, you already know what I do. And the third thing is, of course, to in all platforms, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, is collaboration. So if you want to go to the next level and not only grow by your own effort, is to grow by leveraging on others' audience. So let's say if you interview me today and you shared this clip on LinkedIn, right, for example, I will share it to my audience, and then you tap into my audience as well. So in the beginning, I did a lot of that. And so that's how you build your personal brand. I really give you the why and also a lot of the hows as well.
Yeah. Okay, that's really good. That's a really good advice. But now are there things that maybe you would advise people not to do instead? Is there any like don'ts on LinkedIn? Is there a rule? Although we all know it's a social media, you can actually post whatever you want, but because it's also a professional platform,
don't for sorry, I want to understand, like, don't for what?
Don't do to
get
affect
banned, or don't do to get less sales. What is the don't here?
Your brand, I guess. Yeah. Because we come from the personal branding. Is there things that we shouldn't do that that will probably, because it affects our personal branding?
I would say nothing. I would say it's more of one of the things I see, and this a lot of guests that I interview on the podcast have this issue, which is when I want to interview them, I don't know what they are good at. So like I said, the first step is find what you're good at and make sure, like, for example, I know a guy who is the CX guy, right? So I'll just talk to him about CX. I know some guy who is I interviewed an ADHD coach. So when I went to their profile, I know this guy talks about ADHD. So the biggest thing is that if you talk about everything, and one day you talk about leadership, and your LinkedIn profile has no focus, and the next week you talk about content and talk about this, you can once in a while mix it up, but you need to have that strong thing in there. And yeah, that I would say is the biggest don't, is to not have a focus.
Okay. So far, we talk about trying to create engagement with people on LinkedIn. Do your best, because that is the platform for it. Networking. And then secondly is to be more consistent on our posts, to be more relevant and consistent, and also to try to niche our content. I mean, we can talk about other stuff, but it's just try to build an identity based around that niche. Yeah. Okay, so now the biggest question we have right now on LinkedIn is like, Bob, how do we generate leads on LinkedIn? What's the few ways or the best ways to generate leads on LinkedIn?
Thanks, Joe. That is very important question. So for discussion's sake, can we work with one type of leads? Like, what type of leads are you looking for?
What type of leads? Professional, let's say professional.
Like, are you looking for, let's say, people to buy a course or people to subscribe to a service? Or are
Let's
you
say
looking
subscribe to a
for...
service because I'm a bit more familiar with that. Subscribe to a
Oh,
service.
okay, subscribe to a
Yes.
service. Okay, very good, very good. So agency. Okay, let's say agency leads.
Agency,
All right.
yes. Okay, let's say
Okay, agency
agency.
leads. Awesome, awesome. I'm actually, after this podcast, I'm going to write that article. All right, so
Okay.
awesome. All right.
Okay.
So how can agencies use LinkedIn to get more leads? 3 things. So number one, like you said, you asked me the question just now, networking, but it's more like outreach. So on LinkedIn, you have occupational data. So you can reach out to marketing directors, business owners. So if you use, let's say, LinkedIn Sales Navigator, you can reach out to business owners of a specific business size, a company size, let's say 8 to 10. So I have a client in Singapore who is a PR agency. And what they do is they use my service to reach out to founders. And they offer sort of like a marketing audit to these founders. Like, hey, you want a marketing roadmap audit. So they actually get a lot of calls. Every week, we can book 4 to 5 calls each week through reaching to these decision makers. You can reach founders, marketing directors, owners. You can do that cold outreach because you have that occupational data. Secondly, you, of course, can run advertising. All platforms you can do this, TikTok, whatever. But with LinkedIn's advertising platform, is that you can actually reach those who are in very specific positions, seniority, like besides the basic, just now I mentioned geography, industry, and the very interesting and title, right? You have if you use Sales Navigator or you use advertising, there are more layers to it. You can reach seniority, you can reach activity. Let's say those who are posted on LinkedIn. There's a lot more filters you can add to it, so you can reach those people with advertising. On, of course, with advertising, you can. So if you go and scroll through LinkedIn, one of my favorite advertising formats that works for a lot of my clients is the document ad. So you can check that out. So the document ad, like you are a Facebook advertising person. So on LinkedIn, we have something called document ad. So you have to submit your lead, your information to actually download a document. Thirdly, I would also encourage agencies to do this, is to run events on LinkedIn, do webinars or workshops on LinkedIn. So how you can do this is because LinkedIn has occupational data. You can advertise your event to potential people, and it's very targeted. Like Facebook, you're advertising, you just advertise by interest, which is, I don't know what we will get.
Yeah, it's
right.
more general.
So on LinkedIn, you only get those that you choose. So you can run an event and you can actually tap into your existing network as well. So LinkedIn actually has one of the most powerful event platforms out there. It is the only event platform that will grow organically. No other event sites, right? No other event sites does this. So it will grow organically. Let's say, Joe, you're attending an event. LinkedIn will actually share it with your network and say, hey, Joe and Bob is attending this event. Would you like to attend it too? So a lot of LinkedIn events you can search have thousands or tens of thousands. I had one with tens of thousands of attendees. So it is one of the most powerful event platforms out there. So if I were an agency, these are the 3 things I would do. I will reach out to decision makers. I would run ads, and I would run events, workshops, webinars using LinkedIn events. Okay. So this of course will generate a lot of leads already. Yes.
That's interesting. So maybe the other thing is, now that you reach out to them, you've built leads of audience, right? How do we close them? Are there a specific way to close, especially since we are talking about like agency? How do we close them on, especially on LinkedIn?
Good question, Joe. So I also want, before I share, I want to ask you. So for you, let's say for your agency leads, I know a lot comes to your network.
Yes.
But what do you do when you get a new lead? Do you have a call? Do you meet them? What do you do?
No, okay. So normally I meet up with them straight away. Yeah, it started with a call, but I'm normally the type of person who meet up face to face. Yeah. And
same with LinkedIn.
Yeah,
100.
same with LinkedIn.
Same. So when you get a lead, let's say you manage to do a webinar or workshop. Let's say you do a Facebook advertising workshop or whatever it is. the call to action needs to be a call or needs to be, or you can sell something. I've sold things on LinkedIn events, just putting the link in there and collect thousands of dollars, just putting the link in there. Or you can, of course, get them onto a call. So it is the same, but it's just the method of collecting the leads is on LinkedIn, but it's still the same. If it's an agency, you cannot avoid having that sales call, right? They wouldn't just buy by clicking a link. They would buy a program by clicking a link, and I've done that. But it is still the same if you are, it's just a different platform. If you do it, the same thing you do on Facebook, you'll also do it on LinkedIn.
So it's just a different platform, different audience, but the way we do it is still the same. The basic way of the approach of marketing. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like even to answer your question, if it's a bigger company, for example, like Petronas or Shell, then it's not just one meeting. You have to have 6 meetings to close the deal, right? So that is without saying.
Okay. Maybe to have a final questions, right? What is the last few things that maybe you want people, like you can give people a message to them, like to start on LinkedIn marketing, LinkedIn ads, to convince them to jump and to hop on the LinkedIn trends?
I would say if your business is not relevant, don't jump on, right? I would say only if your business is relevant. And I would say it is, in terms of organic reach, it is second to TikTok. And I have this newspaper here. So I have this newspaper here, right? So I'm the one of the few people who still read newspapers. So this is the Age. So why am I saying this? Because LinkedIn, if you are in the business of knowledge, then you would enjoy LinkedIn. So a lot of podcasters I know are on LinkedIn and they love LinkedIn. You can talk about marketing strategies. All this, the whole interview, you cut it out, you put on LinkedIn, it will be good content. But also on TikTok. So it's a very educational content. I would say that why I bring up the Age, right? Or BFM, right? I always say it's the BFM of social media. So if you are
that's true.
If you are knowledge hungry and you are doing a type of business that is very knowledge centric, then LinkedIn is the place. But if you are selling, mouse, handphone, please don't come on LinkedIn. You'll not get your clients there. So it is very knowledge centric. The ads are document based and things like that. So if you want to hop on LinkedIn, it is the most, I would say, I would use the word boring, but it's the most knowledge rich platform. And only then, if you want to come on LinkedIn and read, and the types of ads you do are very boring as well, very knowledge rich, not boring, but knowledge rich, then LinkedIn is the place.
All right. Okay, thanks, Bob, for all the wonderful tips from earlier on to now to talk about how to brand yourself to how to gain leads and how to close the clients, right? Thanks for all the wonderful tips. Okay, for those of you guys who still do not know yet, you can really connect with Bob on LinkedIn, right? He has 20,000 connections on LinkedIn. All of his content you can see is very valuable, and he also have a podcast called the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon podcast, where he interviewed business leaders across Asia, right? It's on YouTube. I'll put the link somewhere in the descriptions or in the comments. You guys can even check out my LinkedIn. I'll share some of his podcast. Right. So thank you. Bob, do you want to introduce more of your podcast?
Yeah. If you want to check it out, it is the Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon podcast. It is on YouTube, as Joe have said. And thank you, Joe, for bringing me on. And you can check out that podcast on YouTube and Spotify also. And of course, the main thing is follow me on LinkedIn, where I'll be posting clips there as well.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Bob. Thank you,
Joe. Very appreciate it
today. All right. Thank you.